Welcome to Videotronic Maker. If you've seen the first video, you might remember that the reason why I started exploring electronics was because I broke a headphone jack. So today, that's what we're gonna do. Fix a broken headphone jack. Welcome to Videotronic.
Rock the beat.
Videotronic Maker. Videotronic Maker. Videotronic Maker. Videotronic Maker. I guess what I want to do here is bring everything together right here. Just go over what I've learned about soldering, maintaining the tips, the tools you need, dealing with the wires, the tools that you're gonna use, that you would use, that you could use. So let me go over everything. Let me start with the tools. So quickly, I'm using some helping hands. These cost about $6 at Harbor Freight. You can also get them on Amazon. I don't even know what these are called officially. Needle nose wire cutters. These are the sharpest ones, and then these are needle nose pliers. If you purchase a new audio plug, well, this is what I used to open it up. This is what I kind of use if I have to separate any metal. If there's something closed and I need to stick something in, I use something like this. I have a paintbrush for my flux paste, and we've got flux. This flux looks like it's seen its last days, or it's on its deathbed.
I'm melting.
Solder wire.
I'm
This is 8/10 of a millimeter. Pretty thin. We've got your copper. I think this is copper, but copper or brass, I think, are the two choices. A wire sponge for adding copper to your tip and cleaning your tip and scraping off, dirt. I got my soldering station here with my sponge. I've already wet my sponge, and what I've been doing is, this is what I've learned. The sponge has to be wet, but not that wet. So I wet it in a sink, and then I squeeze it right, and I rinse it out. But you don't. Oh, actually, this one has a little bit too much water. So that's. Yep, a little bit too much water. So you want to get all the water out. And then I stick it inside of a towel, and then I squeeze and I try to get it wet so that it's to the point where water's not coming out of it, but it's wet. Now this looks a little dirty to me. This is the sponge that came with my soldering station, but so I just keep cleaning it. But I'm pretty sure you can just use a regular sponge. So if you just take a regular sponge and cut it to the shape you want. I've also bought backup sponges. I bought extra sponges online on Amazon. I use this to keep them in. I haven't used them in a while. So they come compressed, and then when you wet them, they open up a little more. So, but I haven't used these in a while, but I have extra sponges. So we covered the flux paste, solder. Oh, so we're gonna need to replace the 3.5 millimeter stereo plug. So it's stereo because it has two black bands here, and 1, 2, and this is the housing, and then this goes in there. And essentially, once I close this up, this will fit in here, and you'll have, your plug. The way it goes, it'll be nice and secure. This is so you have some relief of the tension. So this one doesn't. This is a fairly cheaply made wire, you know. This came with the headphones that I bought for my son that we bought at Five Below. So for $5 headphones, this is what you get. His headphones are Bluetooth, but you can also plug them in if if the Bluetooth is not charged. If it's not charged up, you can plug it in also. So he makes good use of that. All three of my kids do. So I figured I'd fix them here. So this one's gonna have to be, the plug is gonna have to be replaced, and then this one I'm hoping that I can just put some heat shrink on this. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is oh, and by the way, I started with a dirty tip. This is how I left it, but I did leave solder on it. And I found that when I leave it like this, I start it back up, all I got to do is wipe it on the sponge and it comes out nice and shiny. So we're going to test that out. So let's turn it on. I usually work with this Weller. I work at 4. I turned the dial to 4. It's supposed to be, I've seen online that every notch is 120 degree increment in temperature. So at 4, you're at 480 degrees. Now, I don't know what the optimal temperature is, to be honest, but this position right there, a little above 4, has been working well for me. So that's going to heat up pretty quickly. I also have this heat shrink tubing. I'm going to take a little piece of this, one of these skinny ones, and apply that to the other end of the cable. All right, let's get started. We are going to cut this end here. So let's cut this end. We're going to get rid of this. This is the part that I was afraid of when I first started, and I'm no longer afraid. So boom, we've cut that. That's gone. All right, so now we have that here. Now, as I've been doing this, I keep forgetting this. You need to do this right away. If you're going to use heat shrink tubing, put that tubing on right away, because once you solder the other end on here, you're not going to get it on. So get that in place first. So I'm going to use this, but I don't need all of that. I just need a little bit. I could even use a bigger one and extend it over here and make it a little more secure, actually, so that it'll help prevent this from breaking again. So I'm going to use a fatter one here. Let's see. And I'll put it over, and it'll give it a little more support. And I probably only need about that much. I try not to use the whole thing. So take my wire cutter. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but all right. So I put this on right away, right? That way it's in place. Now that's going to be there. And thankfully that fits. So in the end, it's going to look like that. But let's leave that there for now. So set that aside here. Okay, so now we got this end. So I need to get and I forgot to mention, we need some cutters. I have two. I bought two different ones. This has a crimper and this is just a cutter. So we're gonna use the crimper. Both. Actually, does this have a crimper? I think at the tip, but anyway, I like this one, so I'm gonna use this one. So what we want to do is want to open up, get these wires exposed. I'm thinking maybe this is an 18 gauge, so let's just cut a little piece and see what we have. I don't want to expose too much, so there we go. Did I cut too much off? Now, that's the thing you don't want to do. You don't want to cut too much off. So, let's see what we have here. Okay. The question is, you know what? Looks like I cut too much off. So lesson number 1 is you don't want to cut too much off. So let's just start again here. Let's get rid of that. Boom, cut that off. Let's go to 16. Let's go to 14. Okay, so first lesson here. Measure your wire first. All right, so here we go. Now I have not removed the outer wires. So yeah, that was too much. So here we go. So we have these are going to be your channels. The red is going to be the right channel, the green is going to be the left channel, and the gray is going to be the ground. Now, when you look at the plug, if it's facing this way, this long side here, that's going to be the red, the right. This side here is going to be the green, the left channel. And then over here, you're going to put the ground. Now, sometimes there's a hole here, and then you can put the wire through here, but not on this one, it doesn't have a hole. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just solder here. So before we start soldering anything, we're gonna want to tin everything. So I'm gonna want to put some solder here. I'm gonna want to put solder on the wires. When I figure out, so I'm gonna stick the wire in here. I could stick the wire through the hole, but I'm gonna tin this also. Everywhere I'm going to solder, I'm going to tin, which means I'm gonna put solder, I'm gonna apply solder onto the surface first. That way, when you put solder on the wire and you put solder on the surface, when you go to put it on and heat it, it's gonna the solder is gonna melt and everything is gonna join together instantly. So now we gotta get to our soldering iron. This is heating up. I had it unplugged before. Got a lot going on here. This is the first time I'm trying to do a 3-camera shoot, and I'm using phones. I'm using 2 phones and a camera. So phone situation is new for me, but I checked the footage just now and it looks pretty good, especially this Samsung, this old Samsung. So this is heating up, and so like I said, this is a mess here, but I'm gonna clean this up. I'm gonna talk about that. Kind of covering 2 things at the same time: solder maintenance, how to use a soldering iron, and fixing a headphone jack at the same time. Let's clean this up a little bit. Okay, while I'm waiting for the solder to heat up, let's figure out the sizing for this. So this is going to go in here. So these wires, I want the black portion to, I want to be able to crimp the metal over it so that it stays in there. And so this is about where the positioning is going to be. So obviously I cut a little too much off of the cable. I exposed too much of the red, the right, left, and ground. So I'm gonna trim that up, but I could do that last. So this is the position. Now before I forget, I wanna make sure, just like the heat shrink. I'm gonna put this on now because if I solder everything up, I'm not gonna have a chance to put this back on. So this is gonna go on now, and then this plastic goes inside here. So I'm gonna put this on now. And then I don't want to stick this all the way in yet, because if I do, it's gonna be hard to get out. So now I'm set. This is in. So let's pull this all the way down. That way it stays out of the way. We'll bring it back through later. So now we, like I said, I got too much exposed, but for now I'm just gonna cut it all off. So these are a little hard to cut because they're so tiny. And I was testing it out before, so let's try. Just apply a little bit of pressure here, and then see if it'll come off. All right, that's one. I don't want to cut the other wires. This is the ground. And I find it's a good idea to leave a little bit of the color showing. That way you can remember. That didn't work. It's a little tricky. It's two. You could do this with a razor or an X-Acto, but as you can see, it worked out there. Now, these wires are all the same color, so that's why that's why I'm leaving the base so I can remember what's what. Okay, so let's neaten this up. There's different ways you can do this. I'm just gonna tin everything. I'm not gonna try to I'm not even gonna talk about that. Let's just get to it. All right, so here's what I do. This is what I learned. Just stick all of this in the flux. Just dip it in, get a little flux, wipe off the excess. You got a little flux on there. Okay, now we want to tin these wires. So let's separate them. Now I'm using lead-free flux. Another thing I noticed is be careful with these helping hands. They will cut through, they leave the teeth on these alligator clamps. They leave impressions and they can cut your cable. So I don't have anything really. Here's what I'll do. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this off later, but I don't want to cut it, so I'm gonna put this little heat shrink. I'm gonna put this on here, and that way I'm clamping on that and not the final cable. Okay, now I'm going to separate everything. Twist it all together. It's kind of hard to twist when it's multiple wires because you can't but it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So now back to the soldering iron. So we got this dirty tip. Now watch. My sponge is prepared and I'm just going to wipe and wipe and wipe. Now this soldering iron has been sitting for about a week and a half like this. I was trying something out and let's see. Now look how shiny my tip is. Look at that. Look how shiny that tip is. That's a pretty shiny tip. Just been sitting there like that. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my flux over here. Let me put it in a position where you can see it. I don't want to put it there. The wire's gonna get full of. Now, obviously, a soldering iron is very hot, so be careful. Okay, I'm gonna put my flux here. I want you to be able to see this, so let me move this over. I saw this and I was avoiding it, and then in the end I said, you know what, that's the way to do it. All right, so basically dip the tip of the soldering iron into the flux. I've already wiped it. Now what they say is keep, putting copper or brass onto your tip, constantly put flux in. But what's worked for me is solder and sponge. Solder, sponge, solder, sponge. All right, so I'm not ready to start 100% yet, but I'm gonna tin my tip, and this is how you tin your tip. I'm sorry, I was way off the side here. This is how you tin your tip. Just put a little solder. Now, when you see that the solder is not being applied to the whole tip, well, you need to clean it then. I kind of want to get it to the point where as soon as I put it on, it stays wherever I put it. There we go. Now it's surrounding the tip. If it avoids section of the tip, like there on the back end right there, all right, now that means, there we go. I'm just gonna wipe it one more time. I'm gonna dip it in flux. Gonna stab my wool. Now I'm gonna just, okay, let's wipe now. Let's get the dirt off. And let's try this again. All right, it's staying on the tip. And it's staying on the back side. And now now I'm just surrounding the whole tip with solder. So that's telling me the tip is ready. If the solder totally surrounds the tip, stays on every part, it's ready. So now I'm ready to start soldering here. But now, so that's a little too much solder on the tip. So let me just wipe a little off. All right, put a little bit back on. Okay, just a little bit back on. Now I got my solder. So now I want to tin these wires. Make sure you can see everything. Okay. So I put the tip on one side, and then the solder, the new solder, on the other, and you want to heat the wire, and you just get a little tap, get it going, and then you just start spreading it out. Okay, that didn't work out exactly the way I wanted it to, but my tip is, my wire is tinned now. I now have solder on this wire. I wipe, got a clean tip, and now I'm gonna do this one. So first, tin your tip. Okay, my tip is tinned. Now I'm going to, let's start at the bottom. I'm applying the tip to the wire, and then I'm going to get the solder wire going, and I'm just gonna go up the wire. This is not working out as smoothly as I like it to. but the wires are getting tinned. All right, that wire is tinned. Now okay, so I was just about to put the soldering iron back, right? This is what I learned. Don't do that, all right? First, wipe, because it's a little dirty now. Then before you put it back in, tin it. Now put it back in. Now, some people say keep dip it in the flux paste. Probably a good idea. I've had a little bit of trouble with that. Sometimes it gets a little dirty. All right, so now the last one. Okay, here we go. So still have the same, I just tinned that tip, so I'm just gonna, oh, let me go this way. I don't want to block your view. It's a little tricky doing this and filming, shooting at the same time. All right, that's spread out a little too much. But the wire's tinned. Okay, again, I'm wiping my tip. And then I'm tinning. I need to make a fan, a vacuum. Tip is tinned. Now I put the soldering iron back. Every time you solder, that's what I've found. That's the way to put it back. Okay, let's just pull this back a little bit. Now we have the plug. All right, this should be okay. I don't need a very firm grip here. The helping hands this knob doesn't. So let's just let's use one side to let it stand like that. Okay, so I want to get some solder in here, in this area here, inside. So now, wipe my tip. Long strokes and twist as you stroke gets it off. Now the sponge starts getting dirty quickly. So that's tin. Okay, tip is tinned. Let's get this in position here. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this underneath and I heat the bottom. The heat is gonna transfer through and boom. Now I've tinned the inside of there. Can you see that? Okay, that's a better view. So now in here it's got solder. Okay. Now I want to tin over here, but I don't want to be sloppy, so I'm going to wipe on the sponge, tin. Now be careful because there's rubber and plastic in here. So place this, and actually because I had solder, I tinned my tip, the solder just went right on. So I want that to work nicely again, just like that. So I don't want to be sloppy, so I'm tinning. And what I use to tin is going to let me tin that. Now be careful, this is probably hot. Let's see. It's a little hot. Okay, I just want to turn it around and get to this side. I want to just get some solder on there. Now these actually have holes. I'm trying to do this without closing the holes. Okay, now I've tinned that side. So all 3 points on the plug are tinned and all 3 points on the wire are tinned. Okay, now we want to, might be hot. Careful. Okay, so this is, at this point, the helping hands. It's obvious why you want the helping hands, because there's so many things to grab. Okay, but the problem is I need an upgrade, because that's how I've managed to get that to work. Okay, let's clear this out a little bit. All right, I want to get these together. So, and I want you to be able to see. So I'm going to use the solder holder to keep that up. Okay. So now I'm going to get these helping hands into a good position. Okay. All right, that's where I want it to be. I'll open this up and get this to the point where I want it. Okay, so now I've got these 3 pre-tinned wires. Let's open this up so you can see. I've just lost a joint there, hold on. All right, so let's extend this a little more. Okay, so that's about the position I want to be in. So the red is, I want to turn the wire so that everything is kind of naturally where it needs to be. All right, so red is on its side where it goes, green is on its side where it goes. So now I want to just separate everything. So green goes on that side, red goes on this side, and the ground goes on the bottom. Now actually I soldered in the wrong spot on the bottom here. Can you see that? I needed to tin, I should have tinned deeper. So let me tin that really quickly. So clean your tip. Dip it in flux. I'll give it a wipe. Okay, tin your tip. Tip is tinned. These fumes I hear are not good for you, so. All right, so I'm just gonna get over here and get that hot. I want to tin more here. Careful where you place this. See? Proper planning beats poor performance. Okay, I should have planned this a little better. All right, I gotta start again. Wasting solder. Okay, so that's the spot. I can actually see that the surface is ready. You can see the heat traveling through it. Okay, so I kind of got out of the camera shot. All right, so now I just want to make sure you can see this as it's happening. I guess I should zoom in even closer. Let me get this in a position so that you can see what's going on and where I can still see what I'm doing. It's going to be tricky here. Okay. So what's the plan here? Okay, first thing is, let's take this off. And let's do this by hand first. I want to get, let me get the red. Now this is going to be a little too big. It's not going to fit through the hole. So let's clip it. This is going to be too big. Okay. So I want to get the red. Let's separate them again. Oh, don't break. Okay, I want to get the red in here. So, can you see that? Okay, I'm going to stick the red through the hole. And you see, I don't really like doing this. It's a more secure way, but it's just, it's like such a, it's so tiny, you know, it can get stuck on this part here. All right, let's try to flatten this out. Okay, that's kind of in position. Okay, now I guess I could use a needle nose to, I want to see if I can get this in there. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it, but let me just give it a quick shot because it's already tinned. Let's see, maybe. Close. Brute force. Okay. All right. Got that one in. So now I'm navigating this around. I'm trying to do this so that in the end it's as neat as possible. I'm trying to do a good job here. All right, so I got both the left and right channel through the hole there. Now I want to do my best to separate separate them in there, because once can you see what's going on in there? Which is the way? Once did the red come out? No. Once you solder, those things could, the left could connect with the right, and then it's not going to be a good situation. So I'm trying to clamp it, separate and clamp. I'm trying to clear the red. Okay, that's looking good. All right. Managed to navigate the red. Now I need to get that ground in position. Now it's a tight fit in here. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just do the ground on the back side. I'm just gonna attach it there. Try to keep it as, because I don't want these wires touching each other. You don't want your wires touching each other. Let me just see if I can get this red out without messing everything else up. Boom. All right, there goes the red wire. It's cleared. Okay, now it's clear. All right, all wires are separated now. Everybody's clear now. So let's go on the back and do the, okay, let me set this back up again. Helping hands are not being very helpful today. You're not being a good helper. I'm just kidding, by the way. I normally don't talk to inanimate objects. I understand that this is an inanimate object. All right. Talking to you. A little humor here. Okay, let's get that in position. Okay, that's good. Okay. Just to make sure everything goes smoothly. Oh, I don't want to break that, so let's pull my heat shrink that I set up over here. Boom. And connect it. This way it's nice and stable. Okay, there we go. Now we've got the back side there. My tip looked dirty, but now here we go. I tin it. Boom, looking good. All right. So here's what we want to do. Now, when I should be able to just grab this wire to hold it in place, and then now because it's tinned, come on, cheap. Now because it's tinned, now it's stuck there. Now it's soldered. Now I don't want that coming out, so let me just put a little bit more. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wipe. See, just don't forget. Now I'm noticing that my tip is a little bit loose. So let me just tighten it up. Okay, I'm gonna just place the tip there, and then if I put this here, the heat should transfer. Taking a little bit of a shortcut here because it's hard to record and solder. Oh, I messed it up. But I think it worked out. Yeah, we're good. All right, that part is good. So I'm tempted to just put the tip back in. Don't do that. All right, a 10, now you place it back. All right. Okay, so now we need the other side here. Now be careful again, because this is hot. So now I want to put solder. Can you see? Okay. Wipe. Oh, this is hard because I can't even see anymore. But technically, I should be able to just tap this. Oh, let me tin first. If I tin my tip first, I should be able to just put some right there and be done with it. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to do the other side over here, do the same thing. I'm going to just see if this works. No, because the tip is dirty and I don't want to put dirty solder on. So I want to clean. I need flux. All right, now wipe. Okay, now tin my tip. And I'm just going to watch out. Don't melt your wire, so clear a path here. Put it on. All right. It's there. Now, I need to check this now, and I'm not gonna worry about all the angles right now. What I'm gonna do right now is just make sure that I got clean soldering over here. Just wanna make sure I got clean soldering going on. All right, so this is a little weak, so I'm gonna put a little more. So I'm gonna tin the tip. Gonna just apply. Let's see what happens here. Because it's already tinned. I just spread it out. Boom, I just sealed it now. So that's done. But it's touching the ground section. So I'll snip that. That should be okay. So that side is good. Let's turn it. Let's turn this a little bit. See what happens. Let's look at that side. Now that side is looking pretty good. A little sloppy though, so let's just make it nice and smooth and clean. All right, tin the tip. And at this point, I don't really need to use the wire. I can just tin the tip. Once I heat this area, and boom. Now I didn't accomplish the smooth finish. So let's do this. I'm just gonna apply a bunch, and now I have a smooth finish. Now I did melt the rubber a little bit. That's not good. Beginner mistakes. Tin the tip. Put it back. Now let me inspect this and see what's going on here. Remember, it's still hot. Be careful. Okay, so let's do this on camera. I'm gonna put my glasses on. I'm getting old. Okay, that's in focus. So this side is soldered good, well. This side is soldered well. And the back side. Back side looks a little weak to me. So I'm just gonna put it right there. I'm gonna put it right there. Focus, Danya son, focus. All right. Wipe the tip. Tin the tip. Now I'm gonna just hold this rubber here. Now I'm just gonna look around and I just want to make sure it's flat and smooth. I didn't like what I just did there. So I'm gonna do this correctly. I'm gonna apply heat to the surface and apply more solder. And then, see, now I've made a mess. But I think it's still gonna hold. Still gonna hold. You know what? I should just hit the whole thing here. All right, so get this out. See, I'm applying, and the heat is not flowing because you have to constantly. I'm tempted to just to put a little more here because it really wasn't made to go here. See, now I'm getting sloppy, and making mistakes. See? Now my soldering wire is stuck here. But you know what? I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. That thing is soldered there. Now wipe, dip in flux, get some copper on here so you can see. Get some copper on here. I think this is copper or brass. And as soon as you take it out, it looks like a really gray. Let's put it in focus, which is right there. Looks gray. All right. Now I'm gonna wipe. I'm gonna tin. And I'm gonna be a minute here, so let me tin the whole thing, right? Okay, I leave a big clump and put it aside. These fumes are not good for you, I hear. I said that already. All right, so now, sorry for yelling. Ah, you see, that's hot. I just burned myself. Not too badly though. All right, so let's neaten this up here. So let's get this out of the way. I'm gonna clamp that. That's gone. Now look over here. I'm gonna come back to that. So let's get rid of whatever excess is over here. So let's just push it out just to see what we have. All right, I'm gonna clamp this out. All right, I've still got a little overhang, so let me get rid of that overhang right there. Boom. All right, that's nice and clean. Okay, so over here, I just want to check and see, make sure that the green is not touching the ground. So let me turn this and see if you can see. You see that? There's a space, so it's not touching. You see that space right there? I can do it with my finger, or I could do it with graphics. So right there, there's a space. Right there, there's a space. It's clear, so it should be good. So I'm gonna clamp that. Clamp that here. Boom, clear. All right, now is the ground touching the red? I want to be careful that the ground is not touching the red. So I want to press this down, and you know what? What can I do here to ensure that the ground never touches? So I'm pressing down, separating that. Now I'm thinking I could put some liquid tape in there just to separate everything from each other. Maybe. But what I do want to do is I want to stick that ground down to the ground. So let me get up in there and just press that down. Hopefully there's some solder down there and it'll activate just in case. Let me put a little solder down in the bottom. So I'm gonna hit that and then go through there, boom, boom. Okay, so now the ground is soldered to the bottom portion on the front end. That way it won't pop up and bump into the, so now we should be good actually. We should be good. Okay, now you want to test it out. So how can I test this out? I need to plug it in to some headphones. And let's see what happens here. Testing it out. There it is, it works. Okay, so I just tested everything and it works. Tested on these headphones and they work. All right, so set that aside. So now that everything works, we want to crimp this. So I'm not a big crimper. Crimping ain't easy, you know? So I just use I use a needle nose to do this. All right, boom. Boom. Then we crimp the other side. Get it in position first, you know. Boom. And that's stuck in there. That's not going anywhere. And just to be sure, I could use a crimper. It's not the right crimper, but oh yeah, crimpers work better. They just more power to you. Power. The power of the crimper. All right. It's a little wide there. A little wide there, buddy. Take it easy. You made a pancake over here. All right, let's see. All right, so if I slide everything in place, this doesn't go here. That was temporary. That was supposed to be temporary. Okay. So it goes there. And basically that plastic goes over all of your soldered area. Okay, now you should be able to go in there and screw this on. Oh, come on now. Don't give me a problem here, buddy. All right, let's see. I don't want to squeeze there. I want to squeeze. And a kind of squeeze. Oh, man. What the heck? Stop the camera. Stop the camera. Get that out of my face. Get that out of my face. What's going on here? Did I put the wrong plastic in there? See, I don't want to damage the connection. Okay, why is this not screwing in? Okay, let's try now. It's not. Okay, let's try something else here. Let's get that plastic way down there. It's not clearing the thread. Okay, let's try again. Listen, man, you're not cooperating. What did I do wrong? What is going on here? I'm trying to get it out now. Why are you not cooperating? that? Layer. Did I use the wrong? Did I combine two wrong components? I think I combined the two wrong components. Let me check here. Let's check this out. Let's look into this matter. Where's the original? Who's in charge of props here? Who's in charge here? Where the heck? Where's the other jacks? Jack. Jack? Jack. Where's Jack? Oh, here we go. Okay. Don't tell me. No, they all look the same to me. Are they the same? I'm wondering if I combine. It looks identical to me. Ah, it's a manufacturing defect. It has to be. It's not screwing all the way in. Ugh. Let's give it a try. I don't want to break this. Then I have to make a video about how to fix your headphone jack after you fix it and then break it. Okay, I'm trying to just get a grip here. And then I need a way to get a grip over here. This is so anticlimactic. Well, listen, it works. For some reason, I can't get it to close all the way here. And I've already... Let's move on. If I figure it out later, I'll do an insert. Okay. So now all we have left here is the other end. And what you want to do is just... You can use a lighter, or I'm using a torch. And you just heat shrink this sucker. And there it is. Put some fire. And it wraps around. And now it's nice and snug. That little problem is taken care of. And we've just finished. Pretty much. Almost. Except for this part here. Anyway, it allowed for a little bit of comedy, and just life is not perfect, you know? Things don't always work out the way you want them to all the time. But you make the best with what you have. But this works. I tested it. This works. You know, watch. Okay. Did you? It worked. Let me show you. Let me show you. I'm gonna put the microphone, my microphone, right there. That's my microphone. Okay, now I'm gonna stop this camera. I'm gonna get the headphones. That's the headphones. Those are the headphones. That way you could hear. Because I don't have a speaker handy right now. All right, so I'm plugging in one end. Boom. Let's play back the last recording. Just plugged in. Zoom out here so you can see. All right, so playing back my soldering station. The microphone is here. Let's play this and see what happens. Can you hear anything? Yeah. bump up that volume. All right. So that side. So now that everything works, I'm going to crimp this. So I'm not a big crimper. Crimping ain't easy, you know? And there you go. It works. I figured it out. I told you, crimping ain't easy. What I did was I pancaked this part right here. I pancaked this and I flattened it and it made it too wide. So I re-crimped it. I made it a little thinner. It's not as wide anymore here. And now, all right, don't embarrass me now. And now, it closes.